Next on the list for me is my big thing. Now, this is my favorite thing. This is why I really want to run for president. I think this is what is going to heal America, put Americans back to work, and fix our country from the bottom up. It is an infrastructure project. I call it Make America Green Again. And what we're going to do, we are going to rebuild America from the ground up. Everybody had their Empire State Buildings and their highway projects, and they got their stories telling their grandkids, I built that building, I built those highways. Well, when I'm done, 20 years from now, you're going to tell your grandkids how you rebuilt America from the ground up and made it almost like a Wakanda of sorts, where everything is technologically advanced, clean, and ready to go. I was actually inspired by a movie that came out with Mr. Will Smith called I, Robot. And I looked at all their highways and their buildings and how everything was technological. And I was like, man, this is what we need to do in America. And you know who can do it? You. You're going to build it. We're going to train you to do it. We're going to train you to maintain it. And that is going to make our lives easier as we go down the road. And I'll get into some of the deeper aspects of that later on. But as for right now, we want to use the Army Corps engineers to plan it, to manage it, to run it. We're going to have solar panels on all the buildings, revamping all the buildings for e-purposes, wind, solar, water, everything. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it right. We're going to redo our highways. We're going to rebuild our bridges. We're going to fix the entire American infrastructure, coast to coast, brick by brick, and we're going to do it together, hand over hand. And that is how we're going to put Americans back to work. I'll explain later where we're going to get the money and the resources. As you heard earlier, the tax situation, cutting back on certain situations, rechecking on some of the loopholes that a lot of people are getting away with that, you know, really the average American should get, not some billionaire. So we'll work on those also. So that's some of the way we're going to bring money back into the fray so we can use it for the infrastructure project. But as I get into my international policy and more about the military, I'll explain how this is where the money is going to come from to give us the chance we need. So next on that is education. Now, education is all over the place. The kids are not interested. They're very frustrated. And I used to work in an elementary school, Morrison Elementary. And one of the things we learned during our training when I was in the National School and Community Corps, which was AmeriCorps, started by Bill Clinton, props to him on that. Great program. I worked with the kids. And one of the things I learned is that there are actually 5 learning situations going on. 5 learning identities people have. Regular schools right now only really teach to 1 or 2 of them, maybe 3 when they wheel in the video machine and turn on the TV for you. But past that, they're really not teaching on all the aspects that our kids really have innately, especially now with the technology and the phones, and they're so fast and they've got so many things firing off. We really have to learn how to grasp our kids from an educational level in a multi-dimensional way to get them from all angles. And I really think that's going to increase what's going on in school, and that's something I want to revamp as far as education in America, and that's what I'll have my education specialists take care of. So, for that situation. Next, welfare. Another situation I think that really needs reform. As I was once again working in AmeriCorps, in the National School and Community Corps, which is now called EduWorks in Philadelphia. I worked at a school called Morrison Elementary, which is at 3rd and Duncannon. I worked there for 2 years. Did 2 summer camps where I had my own kids and also taught all the kids in school art, different classes, reading, and etc. So I got really close with a lot of the children. Why I bring it up in the welfare situation is I had a couple of students, and I had this one student that told me this something to me one day, and it really knocked me out my socks. Now, this was in the early 2000s. It is now 2019, and this is 2003, 2004. One day, I was giving the kids money. I had any kid that asked me for money while I was working at school. I need a little change in my pocket. I give them, here you go, here you go. I'm a sucker for kids. A kid could walk in here right now and ask me for money, and I'm gonna check my pocket. And if I got something, I'll give it to him. I'm a sucker for him. I'm a sucker for him. So, of course, I give them all my money. So one of my kids, they walk up to me. Her name's Yesenia. And she's like, Mr. C, can I have some money? And I say, Yesenia, I'm out of money. And she's like, well, why are you out of money, Mr. Carl? And I said, well, Yesenia, this job really doesn't pay me that much, and I've been giving away money all day, and I don't really have any more. And this girl is in the 3rd grade. She said to me, Mr. Carl, if you don't have any more money, why don't you just have more children? Because the city gives you more money for every kid you have. Now, this wonderful young lady in the 3rd grade, she actually had an aunt who was in the 2nd grade, who she used to look after all the time. Another sweetheart. These are my babies. But Yesenia had an aunt in the 2nd grade. And I went to that house. I met her parents. Wonderful ladies. But the mother was having kids just like the daughter. And then when one of the kids, they tell me something like this in the 3rd grade. The 3rd grade. I know that we are incentivizing childbirth with the way that the structure is set up now, and I think we need to change it and put some limits on it. Now, we don't want to cut everybody off. We still want to take care of everybody. And as far as healthcare goes, no matter what change I make across the board, welfare, healthcare is taking care of everybody. I don't care if you have 1,000 kids. We'll take care of their healthcare. Now, the part that I'm going to change, because I want to drive people to have an incentive to be, I guess, more careful with themselves, so they don't have more kids than they can afford. You know what I mean? These are adults. If you're a parent, you have 1 or 2 kids, you should be mature enough to decide whether you should have more or less kids after that. So what I'm going to do is by 2022, if you don't have more than 2 kids or at least pregnant with another child by January 1st, 2022, all resources for kids under welfare, except for healthcare, we will cover all healthcare, will be not accepted. 2 kids, no more. So your WIC and your food, after 2 kids, you don't get more. Your HUD housing, you don't get lower rent. You don't get a bigger house because you keep having more kids. If you have 2 kids, you get the house you get for 2. You have 2 kids, you get the food you get for 2. You get the wearable money you get for 2. You don't get anything extra. Every kid, you don't get another $100 on the card. You don't get another, no, we're not doing that anymore. It's incentivizing childbirth. I've seen it hand in hand. This was 15 years ago when I saw that. And it's been something that I've noticed my whole life, but when I got that, it confirmed to me right there, listening to Miss Young Yesenia. How you doing, Yesenia, sweetie? Back in Philly, what's up? She's probably a grown young lady right now, you know? But she told me that, and it really made me say, Carl, we have to fix welfare. So that's one of the things we're going to work on and get some changes to. Now, next up as far as domestic goes is police. Now, my father was a police officer. I loved the police as a child. But when I got behind the wheel as a 16-year-old, 6'4" guy looking like me, let's just see, the cops weren't my best friends. Once I was behind the wheel, they seemed to not trust me anymore. I want to bring that back. I want to bring back community policing. I want to bring back the neighborhood. I want people to police the areas that they are from. Also, one of the things I want to add to the police partner scenario, no more just 2 gung-ho partners. We have 1 tactical guy. We need another person that is more mentally tactical as far as psychology, negotiation skills, being able to analyze and deal with people in a non-threatening way. So we can cut down on these crazy conflicts, so we can cut down on these crazy killings and people protesting because there's a misunderstanding, because the officer probably just simply wasn't trained to be able to deal with somebody who may have had a psychological issue or some other issue that potentially a psych partner would have handled. So one of the things we're going to start doing is in police academies and in all police training, and it's another job we're either going to add or have officers retrain for. We're going to send them back to training, full psychology training, full negotiation training, full everything. So when they're out there, there's always somebody in every conflict. And if we can't get it done early, what we're going to do, I think we're going to have almost like a managerial situation where there's at least 1 psych person for every certain area. So they're out in the car hanging out, they get called over. But I would prefer something more on hand, such as the partner being the psych evaluator, along with the tactical partner who is more of the military style controller. Because you definitely want to have some muscle on the team, but also the psych person will be trained in military tactics. So I think it'll be a really great tool to have and stop a lot of problems we have with the police at this time. So that's one of the things I wanted to fix. Now, the military is next on my list. Now, I don't know if you notice about our military. We have the largest military on the planet. It is bigger than the next 6 militaries combined. And those guys are all our allies. ridiculous. The military uses, I believe, almost 60% of our budget. Our budget. Did you know, as a person, financial advisors tell you don't make your car payment more than 1 week, don't make your rent payment more than 1 week. None of your large payments should be more than 1 week of your pay. And in America, we're using almost 2 to 3 weeks of pay. If you break it down, how much you pay in the budget and put it in a month scenario, 60% is 2 to 3 weeks of paychecks just for one thing. We're overspending. And that has to cut down. We're going to cut it down, downstream everything, streamline the entire military, and we don't want to get it to about 25% of the budget. That's my ideal scenario. I doubt we're going to war with all our allies anytime soon, and I don't think we need enough army to fight the entire planet at once. That puts the question of our policies in manner. If you need an army that big, what are you doing that you need an army that big? And that's something that's going to change with Carl Anthony when I'm your president. So let's go for that. So that's the military situation. That's one of the ways we're going to bring some money back, cutting down, streamlining. So that's another thing that we're going to use to help bring money in to help with the infrastructure project, and also bring Army Corps engineers back here along with soldiers to help with that project, to manage and run it as we train and use regular Americans to build and do with the process, and of course contractors, independent contractors, and etc. So also, my last thing for domestic policy, big with me, really big with me, states' rights. Love states' rights. You still want to pass your national laws. I'm still going to pass my national changes, but on the same hand, I really respect state rights. I like the fact that I could go to one state and there's a different rule for this, or go to another state and there's a different rule for that, and they got something weird over here. I think that's the beauty of America. That's all America is. That's like the melting pot of America, that everybody has their different things that they need for where they are. And I appreciate that. So states' rights is something I'm going to be a big supporter of. If I vote something is legal, if they decide in that one state that it's not legal, well, you know what? I'm not going to stop them. They say it's illegal, then it's illegal. That's it. No discussion. States' rights is states' rights, and that's that. Now, federally, we won't prosecute you, but if you do something wrong in a state, and that's the law in their state, you just got to deal with it. My rule is, if you don't like the laws in your state, move, okay? That's how it works. There's 50 other states. If you don't like one, move to another one. We got jobs, we got America all over the